Guys, welcome back. We have a midweek energy update to get into, and this week we've got a couple of things going on. First off, I do not recommend making any type of major choice, decision, commitment, investment, purchase this week if you don't have to. We have Mercury stationing retrograde on Friday. We also have a square that is about to take place between Venus and Gemini and Mars and Virgo in a conjunction in the South Node. There's a major distortion in the informational field right now. A lot of things are not as they seem, and this is definitely a better week to be more of a passive observer than an active participant in things if you can help it. We also have a real heavy karmic influence at play this week. Another, I think, kind of undercurrent of this week's energy has to do with interrupting patterns that essentially have been persisting or perpetuating for too long. Saturn in a conjunction to Neptune in the sign of Aries, both retrograde, being conjuncted by the moon on Wednesday. We have the sun also moving into a square with Chiron, which is going to happen later this week and is being activated by the moon on Thursday. And of course, we have this Mars South Node conjunction that is coming up this weekend as well. The South Node also being a very karmic influence. Saturn, Chiron, and the South Node are three real powerful karmic indicators, and there could be karmic cycles being relevant this week somehow, some type of wounding or trauma from the past that maybe we are healing or recovering from, or there could just be patterns that are for some reason being altered throughout the course of the week. I don't know, you guys, lots of strange energy going on out there. Let's get into our report. Let's put it all together. Let's try to get an idea of how things could be playing themselves out for us as we do move through Wednesday and Thursday of this week, and what we're looking at as we head towards the weekend. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me until the end of this report, I have done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field from more than one modality whenever I'm doing these energy overviews, just to get an alternative energetic perspective on what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you. We're going to do that at the end. We have an astrology report that we need to get into. There's a lot going on out there. As I was mentioning in my intro, and I guess picking up where we left off in the energy of our last report, the energy of Tuesday, all week there is this really kind of sketchy distortion in the perceptional or information field going on out there. We have a Mercury retrograde that is happening on Friday. We have this square taking place between Venus and Mars in Mercury signs this weekend. And we also have this Mars South Node conjunction that doesn't necessarily always give the most pleasant results. That is also taking place in the sign of Virgo. Mercury signs are both being highlighted by planets in square as we move towards the weekend, while Mercury is just stationed retrograde. We also, of course, have Saturn and Neptune in a conjunction right now, both retrograde, and they are actually being joined by the moon on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about that in the report for today and the impact that that is likely to be having, but everything right now just is a little bit off. Okay. And so if you feel off, if you feel out of it, totally detached or dissociated or disconnected from reality, not sure if it's real life or if it's a dream, you could just feel drained, depleted, over it generally. Depression, anxiety, mental health issues could be a thing this week, and physical vitality may not be all that robust throughout the course of this week as well. There is a drain on energy. That's what I was saying in my video from Monday. This week is sort of some type of energetic flush, some type of energetic drain. This is a very transitional energy, and it really is about what is being dismantled, what is breaking down, what is no longer perpetuating. This thing about interrupting long established or perpetuating patterns could be kind of at the basis of a lot of the other things that we see playing out this week, or that a lot of what we see playing out this week are stemming from. So there is this heavy karmic influence as well. As I mentioned in my intro, Saturn, Chiron, and the South Node all being activated and emphasized throughout the course of the week, all representing karma, the past, and the karmic cycles, that we are at a point, I do think, in a lot of ways of maybe being released from or breaking out of as this energy comes through. I also want to say, and this is something we're going to be talking about more as we move through the weekend and towards next week, karmic relationships and relationships generally could be experiencing quite a level of discord, challenge, conflict over this next couple of days. And as I said, as we do move into the energy of next week, we do have this square with Venus and Mars and the South Node taking place in Gemini and Sagittarius, Gemini, and Virgo, these mutable signs, while Mercury stationing retrograde. Be real careful what you're agreeing to on one hand, but also what you think you're understanding on the other. Misunderstandings, misinterpretations, misperceptions, not being on the same page, things being lost in translation, are going to be, I think, what a lot of conflict is stemming from in the context of relationship dynamics specifically as we move through the week and towards the weekend. And there could also, I'll say up front as well, there could be themes of like trauma or wounding or painful experiences, raw, vulnerable, sensitive emotions that somehow characterize our experience midweek, moving through the weekend as well. We got a big cardinal square that is building now between the Sun and Chiron. This takes place this weekend as well. We're going to be talking about it in the next video more in depth, but Chiron is a powerful influence, and oftentimes, it can resonate to some of the more painful and difficult experiences that we find ourselves coming up against. And with the square to the Sun, it could be just that, like something that we are coming up against, something that is a challenge, something that we're having to overcome, or I don't know. So we've got to talk about all of those things: the karmic influence, the Chiron energy that is present, the scrambled mental energy field that we're kind of swimming in throughout the course of the weekend as well. And you honestly, on Wednesday, as we begin to move into this energy, it may really just not feel like doing much, maybe feel like doing nothing at all. On Wednesday, the moon has left Pisces, entered the sign of Aries, and we start the day actually with the moon in a conjunction to Saturn and Neptune in a conjunction, and now both retrograde. If you recall, Saturn just very recently stationed retrograde, so this is the first lunar activation to Saturn retrograde, so it's probably going to be making a pretty pronounced impact. Saturn is control, duty, authority, responsibility, rules, discipline, none of which are likely to apply super strongly for whatever reason as we move through the week this week. Saturn and Neptune, I've been saying it, you guys, this is the absence of the traditional Saturnian energy and quality. The Saturn element is what we are avoiding, what we are escaping, what is losing its grounding, losing its grip, losing its footing, breakdowns in authority, breakdowns in control. All of this is strongly, strongly emphasized and represented when we have Saturn and Neptune in a conjunction in the beginning of Aries, and also both now retrograde. I do expect, and I've been saying this in my past couple of videos, people associated with like those in charge, management, bosses, stuff to do with like work and career and government and stuff like that could be seeing some like significant people like retiring or stepping down or getting fired or like layoffs or something like that. There just seems to be this dismantling or fragmentation or I don't know, like coming apart, unraveling in the context of everything that Saturn would rule and represent right now. Breakdowns and endings, specifically pertaining to the past also. It cannot possibly be a coincidence that we have Saturn and Neptune together. Saturn would be, it is the Lord of Karma. It is the Lord of Time. It rules the past. It rules history. It rules tradition. With Neptune, which is this force that erodes, that releases, that pulls things apart, that washes things away. And this has to do with the structures and the foundations and the systems of control control, that have organized the frameworks of our reality of the past or in the past. Neptune also has to do with our belief systems when we're talking about Saturn. So this, to me, conjunction right now, especially in the beginning of the sign of Aries, indicating this new cycle of both of them throughout the entire zodiac, like the new path that we're walking, the new foundations, the new beginnings that are coming towards us, or that we are moving towards right now, are not going to be built on the same foundations or applying to the same standards or following the same rules that they have in the past for whatever reason. And it's like this energy coming through right now is making sure of that. So you know, I've been calling this period of time right now fundamental in this greater paradigm shift that is underway. Of course, we are transitioning right now into the age of Aquarius, and the fact that we've got Saturn and Neptune together in the beginning of Aries, and remember, they are actually the midpoint. That conjunction between Saturn and Neptune is actually the midpoint between an air sign trine that is taking place between Uranus, who recently entered the sign of Gemini, and Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, which is the energy that is facilitating this radical new beginning. So what is central in terms of our ability to go through this very like next level transformation that is kind of seemingly propelling us into this new space age that is coming up here over this next, I would say, 7 to 20 years, bridging us into the next greater 2,000 years, because that is the period of time that is represented by the age of Aquarius. What is central to that is what this Saturn-Neptune energy is representing, which is the downfall, the dismantling, the unraveling, the ending. These words that I keep saying and that are just so descriptive of the way that this energy seems to be functioning right now. So on Wednesday, again, because this is the first time especially that Saturn retrograde with Neptune is now being activated by the moon, we could see more of these type of things playing out, like literally in the world. People in positions of power or authority or control stepping down, resigning, power seeming to become a bit more decentralized for some reason, because that will ultimately be a major part of this transformation that's underway right now. We're moving from a very centralized system of the way that life in society and culture and government and everything is organized, basically, to a very decentralized way of organizing our like existence and experience, essentially. And that is also being indicated through this air sign trine between Pluto and Uranus, Gemini and Aquarius, and Saturn and Neptune being at the midpoint. Neptune is breaking down, washing away, washing out, cleansing, purifying, just taking the ground out from underneath that centralized, established control system that has defined the previous 2,000-year age that we are moving out of and away from at this point in time, as the stronger Aquarian energy begins to root itself into our paradigm and express more dominantly now and moving forward. And if you guys have been following along with my videos, I've been saying that I do think we have reached that like vital threshold, and now and moving forward, our experience, I do think, will begin to reflect the Aquarian archetypes and this decentralized model more so than the Piscean top-down, everyone schooled together type of archetypes that have largely defined our recorded history up until this period of time. So we really are on the brink of a brand new, radically different energy, quote unquote, you know, being reflected through this paradigm shift. And where we are going is somewhere that I don't think that we collectively have a recollection of having been before. So big and crazy changes on the precipice, and that's where we're moving. But right now, as again, like a central part of this process, we do have these breakdowns underway. So we could see this go on in terms of things to do with career, with work, with reputation. Again, like I was mentioning, authority figures, rules, laws, tradition, government, big business, big finance, leadership and management, management or authority figures stepping down, as I've already mentioned, talked about in my last video. This could also indicate like layoffs and closures, bankruptcy even, things also physically collapsing, being demolished, breaking down, coming apart. This could also be a point in time, I think I mentioned this in my last video, where you might find yourself like needing to replace things that you have had for a really long period of time, but just for whatever reason don't work anymore or are like out of date with some type of like new technology or something like that. Like we could see the need to retire actual physical things as well in energy like this. And we do have this Mars South Node conjunction building, coming into fruition. This is a strong energy, and that is also, as I have said, one of the primary things that is causing this energetic drain this week. It's funny because Mars is with the South Node. That is karmic endings and like the active energy body. And then we have Saturn and Neptune retrograde in the sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars. Everything about our energy right now just feels like heavy and is leaning towards what we're not doing, what we're no longer participating in, what is not going to continue to go on, as opposed to, you know, what it is that we are actively initiating or what we are doing in this energy. Saturn and the South Node with the Mars energy are indicating to me some type of like active karmic reference that is going on. This is bringing up the past, maybe a karmic reckoning that is underway. There is something systemic and foundational undergoing some type of undoing or transition, and it's like this is the time that it has to happen. With Saturn in Virgo energy, also, we're talking about Mars in the South Node in the sign of Virgo. We're talking about Saturn in the sign of Aries retrograde. This could be institutional. It could be centered around, again, work, career, finances, or the material world. We don't have strong earth sign energy right now. I've been saying that sort of on repeat. All of the physical, material, earth-based energy right now, again, is related to endings, change, transition, and the breakdowns. Watch your health this week as well. That's another theme that is quite prominent here. Energy is not supporting just like a robust and vigorous immune system. With this drain and this just kind of like weight or pressure that is directly impinging upon the Mars energy, our vitality. And then Chiron also squaring the sun this week. That is also our life force energy. And Chiron can also indicate just being not feeling our greatest. So we got a couple different indications going on as well that it may be in our best interest to do a bit extra to just like take care of ourselves this week. Also, as I've been saying, this is not a good week to push it. This is not a good week to force yourself to get some type of outcome, to get some type of result. You're more likely to end up like injured or sick if you go too hard in this energy and not end up getting or accomplishing or succeeding at whatever it is you're pushing for anyways. This is a good week to take a break, take extra rest, go slow, be more passive than active, even in your movement, your exercise. You know, we do want to take care of ourselves. We don't just want to lay around, you know, we do want to stay active and stuff, but more like slow paced, like stretching and walking and more like, I don't know, meditative movements and stuff like that, as opposed to really going in there and giving it all you got, because we're just not set up to thrive in that way in energy like this. And also, this energy is supporting us in altering patterns. So if you usually, you know, put a lot of energy into things and do things in a certain way to get some certain type of outcome or result, this may be the week where you just, I don't know, want to alter that or edit that or take a day off or something, because this energy does want us to break up patterns and it does not want us to push ourselves too hard. So maybe perhaps just something to be mindful of as well. It is slow energy. Mars in the sign of Virgo is not like an explosive like dynamic use of energy. This Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the sign of Aries also not really allowing us to move forward with a lot of speed right now. The changing energy, we do have that Uranus-Pluto trine. That is electrified. That is lightning speed. That is changes happening very quickly. But I think that generally, and also with the Mercury station right now too, things and people are probably going to be moving quite slow and not all that there. This is a very like vacant, not with it mental energy this week. Okay. It is very dissociated. It is very detached from reality. There is this level of incoherence and this inability again to like accomplish anything of true value. And then Mercury is about to station retrograde. I have said I do not think this is the week to make the choices, make the decisions unless you have to, or unless they are in regards to like how you're about to undo things, how you're about to get out of something, get away from something, or clean things up. This is also an energy this week I talked about in my last video that does support our ability to cleanse things, to clean things, to reorganize things, to again like decompartmentalize things, to take things apart, but then to figure out maybe like what the root source of the problem is and have an ability to put them back together in a way that's like ultimately going to make more sense or be more productive or be more efficient or streamline things somehow. But this is about undoing things, about being released from things. So if you are making choices or decisions of like essentially like how to get out of something, how to let something go, how to move away from something, that is a good way to use this energy. But anything that we do try to initiate, to commit to, or to pursue in this energy is just likely to require some type of significant change, not work out, fall flat. Our judgment is likely to be skewed this week as well. That's another reason why I don't think it's a great idea to be going all in on anything. There is always going to be a distortion in the informational field as Mercury prepares to station retrograde. And also, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell how it's going to go if things just seem to appear worse than they actually are, or if it's just something difficult that we're having to deal with. But Mercury is stationing retrograde in the sign of Leo, right? Leo is the sign ruled by the sun. This happens basically like right at the same time that the sun is squaring Chiron in the sign of Cancer. So, and of course the Sun Chiron square, like this is what is pressing on our wounds, right? So the Mercury retrograde honestly could be quite centered around like things that have happened in the past, old wounds that we've experienced, maybe lessons that we've learned. It could be like triggering or bringing up like trauma, states of trauma, painful experiences generally. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not really sure if this is more likely to manifest in terms of the old wounds that we are processing and releasing right now. It probably will function like that for, you know, some people, and for other people, it may just be like the crazy state of things that are going on right now. And maybe some of these more difficult or challenging or painful situations playing out that are causing us to maybe take a step back or backtrack or rethink or reconsider some things. And again, there is this seemingly very present relationship dimension of all of this, as well as Venus will also be squaring Mars exactly in Mercury's signs, Gemini and Virgo, while Mars hits that south node. There could be, people could be finding out things from the past that cause breakdowns in relationships. Wouldn't be surprised if that's how this goes as well. Like painful things from the past, maybe that are coming out in energy like this that cause a lot of conflict. But it's just, it's crazy to me, honestly, like how intertwined and entangled all this energy is with like itself, because we've got the Mars South Node conjunction. Like that is a powerful force that usually brings like tangible, physical, material experiences or results on its own. But then we have Venus in an exact square. You're going to want to tune into the Friday video, because we got like, we're going to be getting really into all of this and taking some good deeper looks at it in that video. But with both of these happening at the same time, Mars and the South Node in the conjunction in a sign of Virgo, Venus like exactly square in the sign of Gemini, while Mercury ruling both of them has just stationed retrograde in the sign of Leo, which is a sign of the sun, and the sun is also square Chiron, like exactly while all of this is going on. I don't know. It feels like a sketchy energy to me. Honestly, I probably am going to call it as a bit of a red flag weekend. And again, like I'll be talking much more about it in my next video. But there just seems to be like an emphasis on either some type of childhood wound or trauma that comes up, feeling for some reason maybe under some type of an attack, or emotionally raw, sensitive, vulnerable. Feelings of weakness or inadequacy could definitely be a source of conflict that we've got going on throughout the rest of the course of the week. Painful situations having to do with home or family, discord and disharmony, as I said, going on in relationship dynamics. This is this very, very karmic energy though, and how old wounds or how traumas have defined us personally and like impacted how we are, how we view ourselves, our relationship dynamics, and essentially like the trajectory of our lives up until this point in time. Like the effect that those things have had and still maybe are having on us. I don't know, seems like it could be highlighted. There is an emphasis though, I will say for sure, on the past, perhaps somehow significant, and perhaps in a way that really actually like changes the status quo, alters the pattern, alters the flow, or I don't know, causes some type of breakdown or ending, release that comes with this. So I do think that we need to try to go with the flow of things if we can this week, Wednesday maybe especially. This is not an energy about what we can accomplish, definitely more about what we can realize and how we can change as a result. Thursday, I would say, is the more energized day of the week perhaps. The moon is no longer with that Neptune-Saturn draining energy. It has moved through the sign of Aries, but the moon does come into a conjunction with Chiron on Thursday, who is only 2 degrees out from a square to the sun in Cancer, which I just got done talking about, and the impact that that could have on the energy as we move through the week and towards the weekend because of the Mercury retrograde emphasizing also this square between the sun and Chiron. This energy could be triggered also on Thursday this week because the moon will be conjuncting Chiron and creating that square. So I don't know, people could really be in their feelings. There could be wounds coming up. Again, like take good care of your health and your mental health this week. Wounding and healing is a theme, especially once we get into Thursday and moving into the weekend. There could also be, honestly, like some type of more collective trauma or collective wound or health-related event or incident that takes place Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, moving through the weekend. This could also, with the strong Chiron energy, have to do with money, worth, value, wealth, finances, currencies, financial markets, economies, institutions, stuff along those lines. And I really just keep coming back to the fact that this does feel like messy to me. Everything kind of feels like a hot mess out there. Maybe it won't be. Maybe I'm looking at it sideways, but it seems like kind of a recipe for some type of disaster, honestly, moving into the weekend and next week. I really don't love the fact that we are having a Mars South Node conjunction at exactly the same time that we are having a Sun Chiron square. Both of those on their own are very iffy energies, and sometimes we can see like not so great collective type events go on when we've got either of those taking place. So I guess it just is what it is. And like I said, we'll talk more about it as we do get into our report of the weekend. But I do also want to state that regardless of what does come with this or what appears to be going on in this energy, remember, a lot of what we're seeing is some type of distortion. The informational field and our field of perception and awareness and judgment is just not all that clear, straightforward, accurate this week. It really is almost like, to an extent, like nothing is really real. And that brings me back to, you know, kind of how I started this video. If you are feeling dissociated, if you're feeling detached, if you're questioning reality, if you're feeling like, you know, I don't even know what is real in this energy, a lot of that has to do with the fact that genuinely so much just isn't actually what it is right now, and isn't that real, and is more of a projection or an illusion or a seeming occurrence than what will have been an actual occurrence, what will have ultimately ended up to have actually taken place. Very little has staying power this week. Remember, the majority of things that are talked about and acted upon and initiated in this energy are not going to ultimately translate into anything, regardless of what they may seem to be in this energy, unless they have to do with taking things apart and dismantling what has been in order to essentially clear the way for what is about to be. So, I've said this a couple times now, passive observation is better than active participation here. And if we do find ourselves in a situation where we need to do something active, we need to be some type of active participant, then it's best to use the energy for what it's good for, which is, as I keep saying, taking things apart, changing the way that things are done, getting to the root of issues, altering, editing, patterns, routines, schedules, systems, thinking outside of the box, broadening our perspective, being less strict with our personal limitations and perceptions of what is possible for ourselves, being open to different options and possibilities, trying new things, self-analysis, introspection, being receptive, slowing down, releasing control, cultivating our faith and trust in a higher power. All of these things that I just listed right there do well in energy such as this. This energy, as I have said, at the end of the day, is assisting us in reinventing ourselves, evolving our sense of self somehow, and our presence in the world as a result. And this is happening through transforming our mindset, transforming our perspective, and also breaking these karmic cycles that perhaps have prohibited us from reaching this point until this point in time. The things that are happening this week, though, I do think ultimately are going to result in some type of change along those lines, though. This is altering the patterns that have been persisting and that just are not relevant anymore, or that can't continue to go on if things are going to change in the way that they need to right now. Also, remember, you guys, this is something else that I find to be very interesting in the context of the nature of unfolding energy and events right now. Even the position of Saturn, where Saturn stationed retrograde 2 degrees of Aries, that Sabian symbol is a comedian entertaining the group. There is like something about not taking things so super seriously right now, if we can help it. And I do think it's because a lot of this just really isn't that serious. A lot of things are probably actually more of a joke than we can perceive or understand in this moment. Trying to maybe take a lighter approach, trying to make light of things generally, or maybe trying our best to, I don't know, like laugh things off when and where we can, when and where appropriate. It could help us somehow. We also have Chiron, again, who is being activated strongly this week, 28 degrees of Aries. That Sabian symbol is a large, disappointed audience. Again, there could be something that hits on a more collective level that is leading to this generalized state of disappointment, or, you know, maybe people just not being all that happy about something. Could be a vibe this weekend for some reason as well. But But I also want to bring to your attention the position of both Mars and the South Node actually on Wednesday. Mars is at 17 degrees of Virgo. That Sabian symbol is a volcanic eruption. But we have the South Node at 20 degrees of Virgo where Mars is now approaching. That Sabian symbol is a caravan of cars headed for promised land. So there could be some eruptive, I don't know, maybe like seeming acts of God that happen along the way, along our journey, along our path. But we are headed towards promised lands. We are being released from these karmic cycles. We are overcoming these past limitations, and we are, I do think, moving in a better direction now and moving forward, despite perhaps appearances at the moment and just the general state of craziness and uncertainty that could be going on out there. So that's what I have to say in terms of the astrology today, you guys. We have a tarot reading that we need to get into now. Our tarot reading is touching, I actually think, on some of the same themes that the astrology is indicating to be going on. We actually had the World card come out first, and then we have the Eight of Swords, and then we have the Ten of Pentacles. The World card is about karmic cycles. It is about completing something. And what are we completing? The Eight of Swords is about essentially like the mental prisons that we exist within that we don't even realize we are existing within. It's the things that we don't realize, we don't see, that are invisibly acting as limitations or restraints to what we feel is possible, what we acknowledge as potential. Okay, and then we've got the Ten of Pentacles coming out here. And then actually on the back of the deck, we've got the Four of Wands. I don't know, you guys, like this combination seems to be indicating coming to the end of a period of time where we were blind to our own true worth and potential and ability to create stability and abundance with that, which is very fascinating because that to me was like the entire energetic push of this Uranus-Taurus transit that we just completed as of, I don't know, I think it was like last week now. When Uranus entered on the 7th, when Uranus entered the sign of Gemini, awakening to the truth of our value and potential, that is literally how I would read these cards here, like coming to the end of a period of time where we had been blind to our own abundance, to our own fortune, to our own like success, to our own resources and what we could create with them, to our own ability to celebrate, to be stable, to be happy, to have what may bring us what we would consider a sense of like true success and abundance in the physical world. Both the Ten of Pentacles and the Four of Wands have to do with family and stability and abundance and celebration. And then we've got these two cards, the World and the Eight of Swords. Like that's talking about some type of cycle coming to the end of something that we've been blinded to. So I don't know, you guys. I do think, and I said this in one of my other videos recently, the tarot message was indicating that like, I don't think people are going to be as willing to settle for things as they used to be. And that Uranus-Taurus transit that we have recently completed, I feel like was kind of setting the stage for that as well. Uranus is in the sign of Gemini now. Like this is change, options, possibilities, alternatives, like versatility, like all the things that could be with the potential that we've realized that we have. And it seems as though, you know, maybe on a more collective level, and this perhaps could be what this Chiron energy is about, and the Saturn energy is about, and the South Node energy is about, and this Venus-Mars square coming up right now while Mercury goes retrograde is about, like realizing like on a deeper level maybe what we like, or actually acknowledging or redefining what our perception of our own worth or value truly is at this point, maybe through what we've become, what we've overcome, what we've conquered, what we've gone through, and as a result of that, or even what we've had to let go of, and even and now as a result of that, maybe what we are no longer to settle for, what we're no longer willing to accept, what we're no longer willing to hide, what we're no longer willing to diminish or to repress. Authenticity is the way forward now, you guys, with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius and Uranus in the trine in Gemini. And so that could be what a lot of this is about right now too, is like shaking off the karmic remnants of what bound us to those old versions of ourselves, and maybe like no longer being willing or coming to realize that we are just not willing to accept any more like breadcrumbs or essentially like anything that we feel like is not worth our time or our energy or whatever it is anymore. I think we're not willing to accept less than whatever we feel like the situation calls for in any given scenario now. So a lot of things could be changing as a result of that as well. But it does seem as though there's a cycle ending where we were blind to something of value within ourselves, or we weren't considering it, or we weren't seeing it, or we were overlooking it. So I don't know. That seems to be, though, what the tarot message is saying, and I do think it aligns quite accurately with the way astrology is coming in right now as well. Now we're going to get a synchronicity card. I'm going to ask God, Spirit, Universe to get us one final piece of guidance or advice. What do we need to know? What can benefit us as we move through the energy of our week this week? What should we tell ourselves? What advice do we need? Oh, I thought I had one, but I didn't. There it is. It says you can only change yourself. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Matthew 5:16. Be an example for others. You cannot change others' behavior any other way except to show by good example what sort of things a good life can bring one. Forgive them for their failures. Forgive them for their words. Love them, and by your example show them the way. This is the only way except to pray for them to know and to follow your example. So we're leading by example this weekend, you guys. Again, this is not energy where things definitely need to change. This whole video I've been talking about change, endings, transition, taking things apart, like setting things up to not continue to go the way that they've been going. But it's not going to most likely be pertaining to other people. You can not change others' behavior any other way except to show by good example what sort of things a good life can bring one. So this is about getting our own ducks in a row, solving our own problems, making corrections in our own life. And there's a good chance that if we're focused on that, if we're doing a good job on that, then that alone is the inspiration needed for other people to make those similar changes. But in energy like this also, you guys, it's about accountability. Like there's a huge, I mean, this is very karmic energy. Accountability has a lot to do with the unfolding of karma, essentially, in a lot of varying capacities. And we cannot make people change. We cannot make changes for people. This has to be a self-directed, and we're in Chiron energy as well. That is a self-directed healing process. So we can lead by example. We can be an inspiration to others through our own work in and of ourselves. And if you want to make an impact out there, you guys, that is the best way to do it. Again, using this energy for what it's good for, making changes to the way that we are living our lives to make ourselves, like to tighten up our own ship, you know what I mean? To put ourselves in a better position, to make ourselves our best version. And I think the point is here that the more people that are doing that, the more it is going to ripple out and the greater impact it's ultimately going to collectively have, as opposed to trying to control and trying to force changes upon people. We need to make the changes ourselves, and that is just, you know, setting its own energetic ripple effect in place. So that's what I have to say today, you guys. You can only change yourself. Message from the stars, message from the cards. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments. I am so grateful for your presence on my channel. Thank you guys all so much for being here. If you're having experiences that line up or reflect what I'm talking about in this video or any of these videos, please drop me a comment. Let me know in my comment section below. Very valuable information to me. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. If you do want to know what's on this whiteboard, I take pictures of these boards and I post them in a Facebook group that I have that is linked in my description box below. That's where you can find that. And come back with me, you guys, on Friday. I've already said what we're going to be talking about on Friday. We've got a big energy weekend going on this weekend. Don't love it. Lots of sketchy, iffy energy going on out there, but we're going to talk about many varying ways that this energy could express itself and some of the best ways that we can navigate the energy this weekend. So you're going to want to come back for that. You don't want to miss it. I will see you then. Have a beautiful midpoint to your week this week, you guys. And until next time, bye.